everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Daniel Lopez for those of you who are new. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your support. I know I haven't uploaded in about a month, and that is because there are new habits and routines that I have been implementing in my life, and I am still adjusting to those changes. So I apologize for the lack of content, but do look forward to more videos on my channel. I hope 2023 has been treating you all well and that you started off the new year with a fresh mindset and with good energy. Today's video does deal with some heavy material, so if you are sensitive or easily triggered when it comes to the topic of trauma, I recommend watching this video when you are in a good mindset. I don't want to upset or disturb any of my viewers. My goal is to share the advice and knowledge that I have gained from experience, from research, and from the help of others. My intentions are to help my viewers on their journey of healing. So I hope that some of the information that I share with you resonates. To begin, I wanted to provide a basic definition of what trauma is. Trauma is essentially an emotional response to an event that upsets you so much that it becomes overwhelming. And not only overwhelming mentally, but also physically. When an individual experiences an event that can be perceived as traumatic, the brain essentially rewires itself and begins to process information differently. What this means is that an event can be traumatic for one person, but not traumatic for another person. This depends on how you were raised and cultural upbringing, as well as previous experiences. So keep an open mind and know that we all have a different perspective. Therefore, we will all consider an event different from one another. And from my research, I've learned that there are multiple categories of trauma, but the ones that I wanted to share with you today, the 5 main categories that I learned about are complex trauma, chronic trauma, acute trauma, little t trauma, and big T trauma. Chronic trauma are repeated events or prolonged trauma that an individual experiences, whereas on the other end of the spectrum, acute trauma is a single event that an individual experiences that they perceive as traumatic. So these two categories are a way to describe the amount of time or the duration in which the individual experiences the traumatic event. So chronic trauma is repeated events and acute is a single event. These two categories can be further categorized into little t and big T trauma. That means that there is big T chronic trauma and little t chronic trauma, as well as big T acute trauma and little t acute trauma. Big T trauma is essentially trauma that results from life-threatening events such as a car accident or natural disaster. And little t trauma is essentially events that are personal, that are perceived as traumatic, such as job loss or rejection. And since big T and little t trauma can be considered chronic or it can be considered acute, that means that you can experience external events that are considered traumatic either repeatedly or one singular time. And the same thing applies for little t trauma and personal events. You can experience trauma from personal events chronically, multiple or repeated times, or some individuals just experience one single traumatic personal event. And lastly, there is complex trauma, which is an individual that suffers from multiple forms of trauma that have not been healed properly. Essentially, it is someone who has dealt with multiple events that they have perceived as traumatic, and they have not properly acknowledged the damage that has been done to them. And from this research, I have had more insight on my own personal situation and the trauma that I struggle with. And everyone struggles with their own trauma, and we all have our own journey in life. There are so many different types of trauma. There is medical trauma, and I can't speak on everyone's behalf, but I can give you some of the tools that I have used in order to have a healthy mindset and to live in peace. One of the first things that I started to do on my journey of healing is to acknowledge the trauma that has been done to me. It will not serve you in any way if you ignore what has happened. I've realized that it is best to accept the reality that you have lived, the human experience that you have lived, and to learn from it. And whatever emotions that come up from that process of accepting and acknowledging the trauma that you have experienced, I support embracing those emotions and being forgiving for yourself and not feeling embarrassed. You are a human, you are your own individual, and you write your own story. So do not put unreasonable expectations on yourself. Give yourself grace and forgiveness. Do not let your trauma define you, because you were once a person before your trauma, therefore you can be someone after your trauma. It really has to boil down to your perspective on the event that happened, and not letting the trauma that you have experienced control your life. Since trauma is not the event that the individual experiences, remember that trauma is the response. So a lot of it has to do with how you view the experience that has happened to you. And I know some of us have experienced trauma that we have no control over, and something that we had no power over. And my best advice is to still acknowledge your experience, the human experience that you have had, but remember that you can always be a stronger individual, and that you should not let your pain and your suffering define you, and that you can always be a stronger and more loving and more independent person than you were before. You are able to control your own path and your own energy, and realize that you have let your trauma control you and manifest your path for so long, and you have the power within you to change your mindset and to live a better and healthier life. Healing from trauma takes a lot of time and practice, and it is easier said than done, and it's not going to be the same for everyone. The advice that I'm giving you is what has helped me with my own personal experiences, but everyone has a different situation and event that they have lived with. So I suggest that you continue your research and your journey on trauma. I've left links in the description box below with multiple websites and videos that have helped me along my journey of healing. So if you have the time and if you are ready, please watch those videos. I hope all of you continue to have a good 2023 and continue to have a fresh mindset and to take every day with gratitude and just be thankful for the breath in your lungs, and be thankful for the duality in life, the pain and the beauty in life, because that's what life is. Life is a journey, and it's such a rare and unique experience to have. And just continue to remind yourself and ground yourself and remain thankful for the current present that we have and the health that we have. I hope you're all doing well today, and like I said, I hope the rest of your year continues to benefit you. Please look forward for more content on my channel, and thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to leave any feedback, do not be afraid to leave a comment down below. If you would like to follow me on any of my social medias, I would be very thankful for that as well. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.